I'm Stephen Ward from UK Graders. I'm the owner of UKG. We're now running into our 4th year at UK Graders, a UK-based grading collectible company. We basically started because we felt there was a need for a grading company within UK and Europe due to our competitors in America and a lot of customers wanting the base in the UK. So grading a toy, basically somebody would send us an item in, a vintage toy or even modern, whether it be carded, boxed or loose. The item would come in for grading. We visually look at the item, so we would decide between the group of us on the condition. So if it was a carded figure, for example, we would have the card sat in front of us. We would look at the condition of the card, the condition of the bubble and the condition of the figure. So it's broke down into 3 separate areas of grading for a carded figure. So firstly, when it comes to the card, we look for any sort of damage, resealed bubbles, any ink touch-ups on the card, whether the card's unpunched, that's the little tab hole on the top of the card, so when it would have been originally put on a shelf or if it's come out of a box. We would look at the back of the card for any scuffs, shelf marks, edge wear, things like that. We would use a UV light to pick up any ink touch-ups, so basically if anything's been touched up with ink it'll fail straight away because we won't grade items that we've got ink touch-up. Then we would look at the bubble. So the bubble that's attached to the card, check that it's perfectly sealed, that it's not been tampered with in any way, check for any dents or dings on the card as people call them, and that would be graded on that. And then the figure itself, we would check the figure of the condition. Now people unnecessarily think that a figure, because it's sealed to a card, is going to be in mint condition. That's not the case. When these items were produced back in the 70s and 80s, they were produced on a production line and they were thrown into big tubs at the end of the production line. Then they were taken out of the tubs and put into a machine that then stamped them to the cards and sealed them. So a lot of the figures were rummaging around in buckets for days before they were actually sealed to a card. So they took knocks themselves, they deteriorate over time, the plastics break down, the limbs discolour. So this all has to be taken into account when we do a grade. So we'll come to a grade decision for the card, the bubble and the figure, and then it'll get an overall grade. Grading basically is important for the simple reason that when an item's been graded and sealed in a case, it's authenticated, so it's authenticated as being original, a genuine item, and also the grade. So for instance, for example, an item's been graded as an 85, so all those subgrades that we've talked about, so card, figure, bubble, all those subgrades come together to give an overall percentage of what the actual item is graded at. So say the item scored 85, which basically means it's a high grade item in the collector's world. It's a very good item. So this person now he's received this graded item. It's an 85. It's authenticated. It's sealed in a tamper-proof case, which you can only break to get into. So nobody could alter the grade. They couldn't change the figures round for fakes or reproductions and try and sell them on. So then, if this guy then decides that he wants to sell his item on, he puts it on the internet or to his friends or at fairs for sale, and somebody knows, they'll associate that with UKG, they'll see the archive number on the label, so they can check that out on our website, that it's been graded and authenticated and what they're actually buying is a genuine item. Also the protection side of things. These cases, they'll range from 3mm to 5mm, we can do even up to 7 or 8mm if a customer wants it. So protecting an item is also extremely important. Also the protection side of things. These cases, they'll range from 3mm to 5mm, we can do even up to 7 or 8mm if a customer wants it. So protecting an item is also extremely important. Once they're cased, they're securely sealed in these cases, so they're not going to get damaged by people picking them up. You can have them on display and they'll display easy, you can touch them as often as you want, whereas when it's not graded you can't really do that. The reason people send items into us for grading is a lot of us, due to our background in collecting. I myself have been collecting since 1989. and not only just collecting one area, I spawned into lots of other areas of collecting. So my experience stems from Star Wars, but leads into lots of other areas, which is extremely important in collecting. You need to know what you're doing, basically. A lot of people putting their trust in us, which they have done over the last 4 years, and we've shown that in the last 4 years what we're capable of, and that we actually know what we're doing. That is the main difference between us and somebody that's, you know, only just started collecting. We've got the experience, the people that work with us, and the people that are on board with us. They're all long-time, lifetime collectors that know the game inside out. Reproductions are another massive problem in today's market in collecting, due to mainly the fact that people that reproduce items, it's for a financial gain. A lot of these collectibles are worth, you know, a lot of money, and people pay a lot of money for vintage collectibles, as we all know. So reproductions are a massive problem. That's why getting something graded, again, is quite important for when you're reselling on, because that buyer knows that that item is original. As for rare items that have been sent into UKG for grading, one of the rarest items in the Star Wars collecting world that we had was a Lily Ledy removable rocket Boba Fett. These were actually produced in Mexico. It's the only one we've graded to date. We've turned down probably 10 or 15 of them that have been either tampered with, altered, or they were reproductions. The only one that we had in for grading that was authentic is now cased with a custom case and a certificate of authenticity. In terms of other items, one of my most favourite was the Voltron Galion, which was a die-cast figure from the early 80s. Poppy made these figures, and it was a good 10 inches tall, made of solid die-cast, and the amount of accessories this thing had was unreal. Rocket firing missiles, rocket firing arms, a totally fantastic piece of work, and we had to individually build and custom make the case designed for the customer. In terms of collectibles and such for the future, we do get a lot of modern items coming for grading that people seem to want to know, like, or have the foresight that this is going to be, you know, something that's collectible in the future. Lego, Lego is a big collector's market. You know, Lego is very, very popular, and you can never lose buying Lego. Ben 10, which is a children's cartoon, seems to be extremely popular. All the different series of figures, they've done gold release figures, they seem to be really popular, and they're already fetching good money. Again, you've got to think about the generation of children now, what they're playing with, and they're going to be the next generation of collectors.